Benito Mussolini, once the powerful dictator of Italy, a man who dreamed of restoring the glory of the Roman Empire. For more than 2 decades he ruled with iron fists, fiery speeches, and violent black-shirt squads. But his story would end not with triumph, but with one of the most humiliating and gruesome deaths in modern history. If you enjoy deep dives into history's darkest chapters, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gripping stories. This is the rise and brutal fall of Il Duce. Benito Mussolini was born on July 29, 1883, in Predappio, a small town in northern Italy. His father, Alessandro Mussolini, was a blacksmith and a radical socialist who admired revolutionaries like Karl Marx. His mother, Rosa Maltoni, was a schoolteacher, religious, disciplined, and determined to see her son educated. From an early age, Benito lived between 2 worlds: discipline from his mother and fiery rebellion from his father. The name Benito itself came from Benito Juarez, the Mexican leader who fought against foreign rule. And young Mussolini would indeed grow up to fight, but for power, not freedom. He was intelligent, especially in writing and public speaking, but he was also violent. In his teenage years at Catholic boarding school, he attacked another student with a knife. He was expelled. That violent streak never left him. As a young man, Mussolini became a journalist. He wrote passionately for socialist newspapers, defending workers' rights and calling for revolution. In 1912, he rose as a star within the Italian Socialist Party. But when World War I began, everything changed. At first, Mussolini opposed the war, just as his fellow socialists demanded. But then, he betrayed them. He declared that war could give Italy more power and new lands. This shift enraged his comrades, and in 1914 he was expelled from the party. From then on, Mussolini was no longer a socialist. He became a nationalist, a militarist, a man obsessed with power. After Italy's disastrous years following World War I, Mussolini saw his opportunity. In 1919, he founded the Fasci di Combattimento, the beginning of Italian fascism. His black shirts terrorized political enemies, attacking communists and trade unionists in the streets. By 1922, Italy was in chaos: strikes, protests, and a weak government. Mussolini and his followers marched on Rome, demanding power. King Victor Emmanuel III had the chance to stop him with the army, but instead, he gave in. On October 29, 1922, Mussolini was appointed Prime Minister of Italy. From there, he dismantled democracy. By 1925, he was dictator, Il Duce. For 2 decades, Mussolini ruled Italy with propaganda, secret police, and violence. He dreamed of empire, conquering Ethiopia in 1935 with chemical weapons and brutal massacres. He boasted that fascism would revive the Roman glory. And then came Hitler. Mussolini allied himself with Nazi Germany. In 1939, they signed the Pact of Steel. By 1940, Italy entered World War II. Mussolini promised easy victories. Instead, his armies failed miserably in Greece, North Africa, and Russia. The dream of empire collapsed into ruin. By 1943, Italy was exhausted, starving, and broken. In July 1943, Mussolini was betrayed by his own government. The king dismissed him, had him arrested, and handed power to Marshal Badoglio. Mussolini was secretly imprisoned in a remote mountain hotel, but Hitler refused to abandon him. German paratroopers staged a daring glider rescue, Operation Oak, and freed him without firing a shot. Hitler placed him as the head of a puppet state in northern Italy, the Italian Social Republic. But Mussolini was finished. He was weak, powerless, and nothing more than a German puppet. By April 1945, Nazi Germany was collapsing. Allied troops and Italian partisans swept across northern Italy. Mussolini had nowhere to run. On April 25th, Mussolini tried to flee Milan with his mistress, Clara Petacci, and a convoy of fascist officials. Disguised in a German soldier's coat and helmet, he hoped to escape into Switzerland. But in the small town of Dongo, partisans stopped the convoy. One of them noticed the pale, stocky man hiding in the truck. When the helmet came off, the dictator was revealed. Mussolini was taken prisoner. For the first time, Il Duce was powerless, silent, and afraid. On April 28, 1945, partisan leader Walter Audisio, known as Colonel Valerio, carried out the execution. Mussolini and Clara Petacci were placed before a stone wall. At 4:10 p.m., Audisio opened fire. Mussolini fell, his chest riddled with bullets. Clara screamed and tried to shield him, but she too was gunned down. The hatred did not stop with their deaths. More bullets tore through Mussolini's lifeless body. The corpses were loaded onto a truck and driven to Milan. Their destination, Piazzale Loreto, the very square where Mussolini's fascists had executed resistance fighters the year before. There, the crowd unleashed decades of rage. They spat, kicked, and shot at the dictator's body. Mussolini's corpse was beaten beyond recognition. Clara Petacci's body was also mutilated. Finally, in a shocking display, the partisans hung the bodies upside down from a metal beam at a gas station. For hours, Mussolini and his mistress dangled like butchered animals, a warning to all fascists. Even Winston Churchill, no friend of Mussolini, later admitted that the execution was one thing, but the public desecration was something else entirely. Mussolini's battered corpse was buried in an unmarked grave to prevent fascists from turning it into a shrine. But in 1946, die-hard followers stole his body, smuggling it across Italy. It was recovered, hidden by the state, and finally returned to his family in 1957. Today, his tomb in Predappio remains controversial, visited both by neo-fascists who still admire him and by curious historians. Benito Mussolini, the man who dreamed of reviving the Roman Empire, ended not as a hero, but as a hunted fugitive, executed by his own people, his body spat on and strung up for all to see. His downfall remains one of the most brutal and unforgettable moments in modern history. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories.